This is the second of four sections of the video lecture. Most of the videos that we watch are going to be in chronological order, starting from earlier art videos coming to more current art videos. We're not going to watch all of the videos in full, but I do want to go through clips of each video. It's important to see because, as you'll find out, art videos, when they started out, they were exceptionally boring. But I do want to bring up one point. In the middle 1960s, consumer video cameras became available on the market. And these weren't nice cameras or not high quality in terms of what you might be familiar with, but they were available. They were also very expensive. So artists actually pulled their money together in order to buy these very expensive cameras that might cost half of their year's salary or a full year's salary. And without a history of video art, video artists didn't necessarily know what would be interesting or what would be good. So at the very beginning of artist-made video in the 1960s, you had artists performing for the camera. That's evident here in Bruce Naumann's video. Dance or walk on the perimeter of a square. So here we go. Bruce Naumann dancing on the perimeter of a square. I don't think that when he made this, he really thought that he was making high art. He was really experimenting with what can be done with video. I mean, this is 8.5 minutes of him dancing on the perimeter of a square. Pretty soon he'll be turning. Wait for it. Wait for it. There we go. He made it to another side. 1.5 minutes into it. I don't hate this video because I understand where it comes from. But I can see if I understand if you just view this as like, what the heck is he doing? Because he just goes on and on. There he is, facing the camera. And he makes it all the way around the square, and then he turns and faces the inside of the square. He does it again. Not the best example of, high art, but again, it's where video started. Performing for the camera. In this video, Joan Jonas also performs for the camera. But this is, years later, 1972. Let's see, Nauman was 1967. We're still performing for the camera, but it is getting a little bit more interesting. In this video, she is messing around with technology. So like in the zoetrope, there is a little slit where you see the image and then it blocks out what you're seeing. And then you see a flash of an image again and again and again and again. That's how movie projectors work. And that's how older televisions worked also. There was a function on older television called vertical roll. And it was a little knob where you could line up the picture, make the bars go away. Well, because sometimes your TV needs a little bit of adjusting, and you in your family room can just adjust it a little bit. Well, you can turn that knob all the way one direction, and you start getting these bars that are coming down the screen because the image isn't lining up properly. So that's how this vertical roll is happening. But she's using technology in other ways too. What we actually are looking at is a recording of a television screen. So there's a camera on a tripod recording the television screen. And then there is another camera that you don't see that's hooked into the back of the TV. And it's playing a live feed into the TV. And what we have is Joan Jonas performing in a live feed on the television. So she's manipulating the video, but she's doing it in a very physical way. Again, this video is kind of boring. It is almost 20 minutes long. But I do like it. I like the steps that she was making, especially from the mid-60s. I like the abstraction of what's going on. We see it looks like she's laying on her back with her knees and elbow in the air. The noise, it looks like she's stomping on the ground to make the noise. So she does this whole long performance, and pretty soon she's going to break the illusion of what's happening. There, towards the end of what's going on, end of the video, she slowly slides her head in between the camera that's recording the television screen and the television. Then she turns and looks at the viewer. I think you could describe this, what she's doing, as a performance. But this is a performance with technology. It's not a documentation of a performance per se. It's performing for the camera, but also performing for the viewer. So that was going on in the early part of video. In the 70s, I guess this was also in the 70s, but there became this explosion of, I would say, formulas for making video art. People dabbling in video art and really taking it in extreme directions. This artist, Chris Burden, is famous for a few things, one of which we spoke about already weeks ago, where he orchestrated a performance called Shoot, where he stood against a wall and had his friend, who was a sniper in the army, shoot him in the arm. This guy's an extreme character, and he definitely thought outside the box. And this is evident here, where he produced a series of commercials to play on air in between soap operas in Los Angeles. These commercials were 15 seconds long or so, because that's all he could afford. And imagine you've got Dial soap. Okay, first of all, you're watching Days of Our Lives. And then you've got Dial soap commercial. And after that commercial is this, some weird thing that some artist paid to put on air. And then a commercial for a used car lot. Some of these videos were incredibly jarring, like this one, where for 15 seconds in the middle of the day, you would see Chris Burden with his hands behind his back, crawling through broken glass. I'm sorry to surprise you like this, but can you imagine how the stay-at-home mom would have viewed this commercial? It would have been really shocking. He did some other ones. A lot of them were really funny. I think they're funny.
Science has failed. Heat is life. Time kills. Science has failed. Heat is life. Time kills. Science has failed. Heat is life. Time kills.
See, to me, that's funny. That is absolutely insane. Throwing that onto daytime television. These are all insane videos in their own ways.
Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Rembrandt, Vincent van Gogh, Pablo Picasso, Chris Burden. Leonardo da Vinci.
Can you imagine this?
Michelangelo.
Placing yourself on
Rembrandt,
television at the same
Vincent
level of
van
these
Gogh,
famous artists.
Pablo Picasso, Chris Burden.
This is another one that really makes me laugh.
In keeping with the bicentennial spirit, the post-Watergate mood, and the new atmosphere on Capitol Hill, I would like to be the first artist to make a full public financial disclosure. My gross income for 1976 was $17,210. My business expenses totaled $16,156. This left me with a net profit for 1976 of $1,054. Thank you.
I mean, that leaves me speechless. I think it's great. I love it. All right, let's move on to this one. There was an artist group in uh, the 70s called Ant Farm. And Ant Farm, they were a wild bunch of people that just did absolutely absurd stuff. They had hijinks and they recorded the hijinks. And one of the recurring characters in what they were doing was John F. Kennedy. See, JFK was killed in 1963, and this video is from 1976. And what you'll see here is that they actually have a JFK impersonator and someone impersonating his wife, Jackie Kennedy, and they go into Dallas, where Kennedy was shot, and they reenact the shooting of JFK, which sounds incredibly insensitive, and I'm sure it is. But on top of that, there was someone standing as a news reporter interviewing people on the street who were witnessing this happening. And even though that sounds very insensitive, the whole reenactment, I think you'd be surprised by the reactions of the people. Let's see if we can find it. This is a long video and there's a lot of stuff in there, but let's see if we can find this performance.
Other occasions through the media.
That's fake JFK giving a fake address in 1975.
It is truly begin with the end. And to
Does it come from rock and roll heaven?
This is them practicing for faking the JFK assassination.
What are the dreams about? What's art? Is this an art of it? Grass is in a caravan of cars, and he picked him off right here. Shot him with a rifle, high-powered rifle. Now here he comes right here. See that they're doing it just like that's the president and Ms. Jackie Kennedy. See, she is dressed just like her the day she shot. See there, see they shot him right there. Watch him. See, that's what she did. See that Secret Service man crawling on that? That's where he did it. They took off, went around Parkman Hospital. Do you remember we passed Parkman Hospital yesterday?
I don't know.
That's where they took. Don't you remember I said that's where the president died there after he was shot?
Well, I saw all of it on television, you know, after it happened, but I can't, I don't know. It just doesn't look the same.
What's different about it?
Well, I don't know. The streets, I don't know, it looked like a different setting or something. It looks different.
How about the size?
Well,
Does it look a little smaller than you mean?
that's it, I
Closer,
think. The building's even closer together. Oh, see if you can get this, Ursula.
They're just going around and around doing this again and again.
It just looks so real now. The characters look so real.
It must be hard guarding the president. It is. It's a rough job. Unfortunately, we fucked up on this one. What do you mean? Well, he got killed. Well, how did you know that? Did you kill the president? No, I saw it.
So again, another example of experimental filmmaking. I do think it would be great to. I want to know you guys' opinions on this video. What you think about it, whether it's insensitive, whether it should have been done. I'm really torn about it because it feels insensitive to me, but the people didn't seem to be. It seemed to be cathartic for them. Of course, they seemed upset, but it seemed cathartic. Maybe it's something that needed to happen. Okay, so this is an artist named Bill Viola, and yet again, this video is incredibly boring. But it's boring in a different way, and it's interesting in a different way. From 1979, Bill Viola was developing his own film, meaning he was taking the video and then he had his own dark room and he would develop the film, but then he would cut and he would splice it. And he would do these rudimentary Hollywood special effects. But these special effects, being 1979, number one, they were crappy. And number two, they were all hand done. It's definitely worth watching. And Bill Viola really pioneered some of these hand-done special effects. So here a guy emerges from the woods. And he stands on the edge of a pool. And he's about to jump in. All right, here he goes. Anytime now. Watch his reflection. The reflection disappears. But he stays up there. He literally took the film, cut it apart, and glued it together so that this video continues and that stays still. But then he manipulates it in other ways throughout. The water's changing, the light's changing. Periodically there will be splashes here and there. Not sure where they come from, or the water ripples in some ways. And see his body. See that splash? And his body slowly disappears. This part has some cool reflections in it. some people that would have been walking around the perimeter. 2 people. He's really cutting and pasting. So, like, even the narrative. So you could describe a story where a person walks out of the woods, stands on the edge of a pool, does a cannonball in, there's a splash, and then he climbs out and walks away. Well, all of these things happen. We might be missing some information here and there. All these things happen, but they happen in different orders. Really messes with the narrative. Pretty soon, not to spoil the ending, but pretty soon he'll be climbing out of the water for some reason without any clothes on. There he goes. And he walks off into the woods. Still, incredibly boring video, but I love it because of the physical process of doing the video editing. Okay, that is the end of the second section for this lecture. Go ahead and watch the third section when you're ready.